Hi, everybody. Welcome to this second installation of Wonder Words. We are so thankful that you are here with us and going to explore Wonder Words with us. So, my name is Krystal Long, and I am an executive board member for Whole Brain Teaching. And I am joined here with Kyla. Kyla, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Kyla Tesmer. I am Gold Certified. I teach third grade in North Carolina.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here with me, Kyla.
So excited.
You were backstage on the first one. Now I'm putting you live and in person on the second one, and we are going to have so much fun. So, we are today in this second installation going through the chapter 22 Wonder Words and a fabulous way to boost critical thinking, which I mean, Kyle, I don't know about you, but critical thinking, we all need it no matter what grade or age we are. So, this is the perfect way to bring it into our classroom. All right, Kyla. So we have some comments already popping up. Loving it. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see you. Nancy, are you my hello, everyone? I don't think it's showing up as your name yet, but we'll know that that's you. So, everybody, just in case. All right, Kyla, we were here earlier with our first Wonder Words, and now we are going to kind of jump into the next three Wonder Words. So, I'm going to show this in our screen. All right, Kyla, we're going to start out whole brain teaching by using whole brain teaching. Well, I mean, what craziness would that be, Kyla, right?
I love this.
All right, so we're going to be using the magic circle today to teach everybody out in the audience all about wonder words. Make my gesture, wonder words. Yes, awesome. All right, you ready, Kyla?
I'm ready.
All right, classaroni and cheese.
Yes, Cerrone and cheese.
Thank you, Kyla.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Our focus for today is what are wonder words?
Our focus for today is what are wonder words?
What are wonder words?
What are wonder words?
What are wonder words and how can I use them in my classroom?
What are wonder words and how can I use them in my classroom?
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach your camera what our focus is today. Teach.
Okay, our focus today is what are wonder words and how I can use them in my classroom. Our focus today is what are wonder words and how
Yes,
I
the
can
doodle do.
Yes, a doodle do.
Thank you, Kyla.
You're welcome, Krystal.
All right, Kyla, on for our answer to the question. Class, oh class, oh class.
Yes, oh yes, oh yes.
Thank you, Kyla.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Wonder words
Wonder words
are magnetic visual representations
are magnetic visual representations
of critical thinking prompts
of critical thinking prompts
to allow your students to think deeply about any topic.
to allow students to think deeply about any topic.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach your camera what wonder words are. Teach.
Okay, wonder words are magnetic visual representations of critical thinking prompts to allow students to think deeply about any topic we teach.
Class, oh class.
Yes, oh yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
All right, so that is going to show you kind of how we go through the magic circle. We start out our lessons with a question, and then we go into the part where we answer the question, and then we chunk all of the information that we are going to use into small little digestible pieces, so it's easy for that repetitious practice. So we have already kind of gone over the first two wonder words, Kyla, and so if you look here, we have this beautiful poster. Okay, all of our wonder words. But guess what? You know, it just wouldn't be the same if we didn't talk about how this is so much better than, traditional classrooms. So, Kyla, here in these pictures, we see that we have a traditional classroom. I think you can guess which picture that is. Which picture is that, Kyla?
That's one where kids are not very engaged. They almost look very bored.
Exactly. And so what we in whole brain teaching want to do is we want to maximize that brain capacity. We want to maximize that excitement, that gamification. And so in this second picture, you can see here, how is it a little bit different than the first picture?
It's very different because I see almost everyone's hands in the air. They look engaged and excited. They can't even sit in their seats. They're so excited.
Exactly. So we're going to be doing some strategies today with wonder words that are really going to kind of help you allow to open up your classroom to some really rich questioning that your students are actually going to be taking care of, not you as the teacher. Talk about the ultimate flip there, right? All right.
Yes.
So in a classroom, Kyla, in a traditional classroom, who's doing most of the thinking?
The teacher is.
And we don't need to do the thinking, right? We've already graduated
We
class.
did that already.
Exactly. So with this kind of methodology that we're going to use with our questioning techniques with Wonder Words, we're going to put our students in that role, that driving role of being a facilitator to their own learning. So are you ready for it, Kyla?
I'm so ready.
Yeah. All right. So Kyla, here, as we said before, we were already learning two of our Wonder Words questions. And that would be the who, make my gestures, pointing at someone. And then the what, open your hands up like a book. Kyla, will you tell me those two gestures to review?
Absolutely. So our who question, we're pointing around, deciding who to answer that question. And the what gesture is just opening our hands like it's a book because we can find that answer in a book or somewhere.
Absolutely. Now, what do you notice happened to some of our posters over here, Kyla?
Krystal, they are locked. It's blowing my mind right now. I love locks.
Oh, right. And I want you to put yourself in that student or even that child or that adult or that young adult. We know that they can sit down for long amounts of time doing something like this, right? Playing those games, looking for that dopamine and release. And we really know that if we want to grab that gamification, that excitement in the classroom, we've got to start to give students a little taste of that in our classroom. So we want to lock up all of those extra posters that we have not taught yet to really get them excited about seeing what's next. So why do we lock things up, Kyla?
Krystal, we lock all the things up to get those students really excited and to release some of that dopamine to get them wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
Keep them on their toes.
Ooh, we love it. So once we teach something, then we unlock those posters, but we keep everything else kind of hidden behind. So we did some review, right? Show me who again. Who? That's our gesture for who. Point at people. And now we're going to say what, like opening up a dictionary and finding that information. But we're learning three new ones today, Kyla. Now, what are these three new ones, Kyla?
It looks like we have where, when, and why.
Yes. Now, before we get started, Kyla, I think it's important for those people who weren't in the first one that we really go over something cool here with our brainies. So our brainies are ways that we can be able to show that oral writing in our classroom. So to begin a sentence, Kyla, what gesture do we make?
We make a capital by taking our two hands together and lifting up that top hand.
You've got it. To show that got bigger, I tell them, get big, get big, don't. And we do a little jumping, to make sure they know that that's a capital letter. Now, what do we do to end a sentence?
If it's just a sentence, we just go as our period.
You've got it. Now, if we're asking a question, which we're going to be doing with Wonder Words here today, what ending mark are we going to use?
We like to draw a question mark in the air, and I go,
Exactly. So, So everyone show me your capital, your period, show me your question mark, Awesome. Now, as we continue to, and I even made the gesture myself, look at that, Kyla. As we continue to build upon this, there is another gesture that we're going to see, and that's the detail adder or give me some more. And then we also have the because crusher, where you pound your hand down on your fist. You're giving that evidence. You're saying because, and we're following it up. So give me those last two gestures.
Our last two gestures are the more gesture, where we have two fingers rolling around each other because we want more. And our because crusher, I like to tell my kids, crush that evidence and give me a reason why.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've got those brainies out of the way, now we're going to talk about our three Wonder Words questions for this episode. So this next one, we're going to start off with where. So as the picture shows, put your hand over top of your eyes like you're searching where far off in the distance. So show me where. Good. All right. Let's use some whole brain teaching cycle here. Are you ready for it, Kyla?
So ready.
All right. Classaroni and cheese.
Yes, pepperoni and cheese.
Thank you, Kyla.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Where?
Where?
Where? Look.
Where?
In
Look
the distance.
in the distance.
Look far, far away.
Look far, far away.
Put your hands over your eyes
Put your hand over your eyes
and look far, far away.
and look far, far away.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach our audience our where gesture. Teach.
Okay. Where is holding your hand over your eyes and searching way out in the distance, looking where something's at. Get that hand over your eyes and look far in the distance. That's our where question.
Boom shakalaka, class.
Boom shakalaka. Yes.
Thank you, Kyla.
You're welcome, Krystal.
All right, so we have the where gesture looking off into the distance. Now we're going to look at the when gesture. Oh, my sweet class.
Oh, my sweet yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
When.
When?
Point at your watch.
Point at your watch.
Point at your watch is when.
Point at your watch is when.
When does this happen?
When does this happen?
When did it happen?
When did it happen?
When might I see this again?
When might I see this again?
When.
When?
Point at your watch.
Point at your watch.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach this to your camera. Teach.
Okay. When is we point at our watch, our pretend watch, if we don't have one, and we're thinking, when did something happen? Could be.
Oh, it's so hot, class.
Oh, it's so hot. Yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
All right, so we've reviewed the where, looking out into the distance. We have when, pointing at your watch. Now we're going to do why. All right, so Kyla, put your hands up like this and notice those little arrows. We're going to hit one hand with the other and send it flying like a cause and effect relationship. All right, Kyla, here we go again. Doodle-doo, class.
Doodle-doo, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Mirror words.
Mirror words.
Where?
Where?
Look into the distance.
Look into the distance.
When?
When?
Point at your watch.
Point at your watch.
Why?
Why?
Hit one hand to the other.
Hit one hand to the other.
Make it go flying.
Make it go flying.
Like cause and effect.
Like cause and effect.
Why?
Why?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect.
Why does one thing lead to the other?
Why does one thing lead to the other?
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
All right, now teach your camera all three that we have learned so far, Kyla. Teach.
Okay. Where is looking out in the distance? When I'm going to point to my watch. And why I hit my one hand, the other hand goes flying. It's a cause and effect.
Yeah, class.
Yes, so yes.
Oh my gosh, Kyla, that was so good. Okay, we're gonna do a 30-second practice. Are you ready? 30-second practice.
So ready.
Where everybody in the audience teaches their camera, and you're gonna do it too, Kyla. I'm gonna do it too. All three gestures we learned, but then the other two gestures that we learned before. Let's go. I'm gonna repeat them just real quick, okay? So we've got who, we've got where, now, when, why. Oh, I missed one, Kyla. Which one did I miss? Who?
What?
What? You've got it. Okay, ready, everybody? 30 seconds. We're going to go really, really fast. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, awesome job. Now we're going to lock those gestures into our brain. And I like to say what I'm actually doing in my brain while I'm doing it. It just kind of helps me remember what these gestures are. So why is it important, I guess, Kyla, that we teach the students the memory gestures that go along with the questioning techniques? What does that help out with?
Man, it helps me remember things. When I'm doing those gestures with words or vocabulary, it anchors that into my brain and I can remember it so much better.
Exactly. All right. So let's put some wonder words in practice here. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
All right, let's do this. So we have a picture here. Okay. And if I am introducing this to my students, I've already shown them the who and the what. And now we've learned the where, when, and why. So I'm going to give my students a second just to observe this picture. And we're going to just say some observations, not even giving them the answers or the questions, just say some observations. What are some things that you observe?
I see that it looks like we're at some kind of restaurant, like a little deli maybe. We have, it looks like a police officer with a little boy, but it looks like he has like a little sack with him, like he's maybe taking a little trip. Looks like, what else do I see? They're talking to each other. I have a lot of wondering happening.
Yeah, and it's a very robust picture. I'm wondering who's this Norman Rockwell person here that's down on the little, the little bar area. I'm also wondering what's the special of the day. Okay. Well, we see a special. I wonder what that's all about. And then I also saw that little red bag with the little stick, and it made me kind of wonder if this little boy is maybe homeless. Okay. So now that we've observed some things, we've observed maybe even let's think about the time frame that this is happening. So using our when gesture, okay, what are some questions that we could ask about when this might take place? So ask some when questions. If you're out in the audience, I want you to type for us a couple of when questions. All right, Kyla, do you have any when questions you could ask about this?
One of mine is, when are they meeting in the cafe? Ert?
Ooh, I like that one. Now, notice what she just did. She gave us the capital letter gesture, and then she pointed to her watch, and then she asked the question followed by a ert. My question is, when did they make the coffee in the background? Ert. Now, between both of our questions, we have two different kinds of questions here. We have some surface level questions. Those are our shallow questions. And then we have some deeper questions that we could also ask about this. Now, Kyla, is my question about when was the coffee made really adding anything to our understanding here?
I don't think it is.
No, I think it's just a distracting kind of question, right? And you're going to get those distracting kind of questions in your classroom. And so what I like to do is I like to really make my learning visible. And I like to put things up on the board to explain to students, these are some things that you could ask, but are they really helping that rich discussion, that rich questioning that we want to see within our classroom? So we want to make sure that we distinguish the difference between a shallow and a deep kind of question. So what is one of these things that we want to do here, Kyla?
So you're still cool, Krystal.
Thank you.
We really want to distinguish between those shallow questions that maybe not help our thinking. We really want to get those students to think about those deep questions that are going to get our critical thinking minds going.
Exactly. So we have to then think about that we want to use these to teach. Okay. Of course, we're going to teach the different gestures. We're going to teach how to use them. We're going to use pictures like these to guide our practice as to see what are good kind of questions, what are the other kind of questions that just don't really lead to any inquiry. But we also need to make sure that we teach our students that all questions are good, but not every question fits a Wonder Words critical thinking skill. Let me say that again. Not every question that's asked is a good representation of a Wonder Words thinking skill. So give that back to me, Kyla.
I like that, Krystal. I like how you said that all questions are important, but not all of those questions are going to really help our Wonder Words questioning and getting our deeper thinking happening.
Great. So then, of course, if we're going to teach our students how to do this, we're going to give them that time to really inquire about a question or a picture. Now we can give them another picture. And this time I'm going to give a picture I'm going to give specifically, I want you to ask me some questions that are where questions, or I want you to ask me some questions that are when questions. So let's start off with just some observations again here. And I'm going to start with the observations here. I have a Wonder Words kind of observation. and maybe even a connection to my own life. And that would be, well, I'm noticing that this lady is hugging a man. And I'm also noticing that there are kids behind. And I'm wondering, just an observation, where is this person returning from? Ert? So, what kind of questions or observations do you have, Kyla?
I also see that the clothing in the picture doesn't look match exactly what we are wearing. So my wonder word question would be, when is this picture taking place? Ertz?
Now, notice she changed something that can often mean a time, and she actually changed that when question into a place kind of a question, which even deepened this whole lot more. So now we're getting this sense of we can look at a picture and we can ask lots of different questions. Now, I've got to say, your question could lead to so many deep answers that we look at here with this. So maybe I could answer your question. What do you think, Kyla?
Oh, sweet mama, I want to hear it.
Okay, so you ask your question again.
Oh, now I gotta remember. When is this picture taking place?
I noticed that people are also not wearing those same clothes. Ert. And these are not the kind of clothes that we wear today. Ert. I also noticed that there are people wearing suit jackets and they look really important. Ert. So, Zoop, maybe this took place in the past, like way far back. Ert. Now, what did I do there? Did I just answer your question, Kyla?
Absolutely not. You gave me way more than just a one sentence answer.
Awesome. So that's what we want to really highlight here is that when our students are asking these questions, as we said before, it's not so much about the questions that they ask, it's about how that question leads to further information and further critical thinking as to what you do within your classroom. So by showing our students, by practicing this with our students, we're going to be able to allow them to see that rigor that we want in those answers. Now, I didn't just give a one answer, right? I didn't give a one sentence answer. I rephrased what it was that you asked, and then I added on multiple sentences to my answer, which is where we want to get our students to develop that critical thinking. So, Kyla, why do we want to get there?
We want these students to get their critical thinking going, and we want those multiple sentence answers.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as we said in the last one, and I'll highlight this again, you can use any picture, any graphic, any lesson that you are teaching. It could be reading, it could be writing, it can be math or science or history. You could use these to get your lesson started. Or Kyla, you can even use these to get your lesson in review. So what are some of the ways that we can use these questioning strategies in our own classroom, Kyla?
Man, Krystal, we can use these wonder word questions all the time. We can use them in reading, writing, math, history. We can start our lesson with it, and we can also use it as a review of our lesson.
Yes, yes. So of course, with anything, Kyla, why do I keep calling you Shyla? Please tell me I'm still cool.
You are still cool.
All right. So one of the things that we really want to think about here is how can we link this game into other motivational games that we already have in our classroom? So this next part of what we're going to do is we're going to talk about super improvers and how we can use our questioning strategies with wonder words to amplify, get all that excitement about super improvers. So as you see here, we have our super improver wall. What do you notice though is a little bit different about this super improver wall than some of the other super improver walls?
I do see that our target at the bottom says wonder words.
Ooh, I wonder why that is. So as you've been teaching and using super improvers, you might have been using a whole class goal of following directions quickly or raising your hand for permission to speak. Remember, we're awarding for improvement here. And so one of the ways that you can really jack that excitement up is then to say, okay, guys, we're going to be focusing our improvement stars today on wonder words. And we're looking for those questions that are not only going to get us a kind of critical thinking question past that shallow part, but we're also looking for really great answers. And Kyla, this is where we're going to be adding in that detail adder and those because crushers to really have our students go past just asking simple questions and answering simple questions. So give that back to me.
Absolutely. So when we want to tie this in with Super Improver to jack up the excitement of wonder words, we are going to have it as a target, and we are going to be listening for those great questions, but also really looking for those great answers with some details and because crushers.
Yes, awesome. All right, so we are now at the point where we have, believe it or not, we've made it all the way through. So let's do a really quick review again. Already? Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Who? Point at people. What? Open that dictionary. Where? Look off into the distance. When? Pointing at that watch. And why? Hit one hand across the other like cause and effect. All right, do it, Kyla. Do it really, really super fast. Go.
What, when, where, and why.
Yeah, 10 finger woo to you. All right, so now we're going to go over to some questions. And if you don't mind, Kyla, kind of look over there at those questions. Nancy is dropping all of the resources for the different critical thinking questions, the links to the posters and the locks, and then the notes from what we added today in our discussion. So now we're going to go over. Do you see any good questions you want to highlight?
There's one from Carrie. She said, do you merely model answers in the beginning, or do you also allow students to share their answers?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I personally will model because I want to really create that expectation for what my students are going to do. But as you continue that, like I'll model the first couple, but then I want them to get involved in doing this. So I am absolutely going to make it so that those students are going to take ownership and take over that. I hope that answered your question. What about you, Kyla? What do you use in that circumstance? What do you do?
I do same. I like to model a lot. So they are some of my students, when we first started, they try to ask those silly questions. And so I love the idea of every question is a good question, but is it helping us get those critical thinking skills? And so, yes, I like them asking questions. And you'd be shocked. My kids in third grade have thought of some questions that I didn't even think of that got our critical thinking skills going. And it's so awesome.
And one really cool way you can do this too is if you want them all really involved in that process, is you can also use that turn and discuss or turn and teach part of the cycle. And you'll just simply tell them, hey, class, I want you to turn and talk to your partner about some observations that you make. Teach. Okay, and then both students are going to be discussing those observations. Then as you're walking around, you might hear something really awesome going on, and you might say, all right, all eyes on Kyla. Kyla, tell us what your observation is. Tell us what your question is. I also really like to use this little sneaky way of getting in some students nominating other students who had really good questions. So rather than, Fast Felicia over here, who always has a question, always has the perfect answer. Now, instead of them asking a question, they're going to say, hey, I heard Kyla ask this question. Kyla, will you ask your question? Or as the teacher, I'll say, hey guys, who had a partner that had a really awesome question? And then they will respond back with what that question is, getting everybody involved and really kind of helping them take ownership of that. So what's some of those sneaky ways I like to add in collaboration here, Kyla?
So a lot of those is when you have them turn and teach, they can do their observations, and you can walk around and listen, and you can point out a really good idea. or ask those students to nominate each other, especially when you have a shy one that's not going to want to share all the time, but they do come out of their shells with whole brain teaching. I'm telling you. You can nominate or a student can nominate another student and say they had a great observation or a great question.
Love that. Ah, love it. All right, everybody. Well, we got to our 30-minute session ending, and I think we've had some really great questions. And Kyla, thank you so much again for being here with me. And Nancy, who was manning the chat, and Jenny and Carrie. Oh, who else was here with us today? Melissa, love it. Thank you all so much for being here with us. And we will see you at 3 o'clock for our third installation of Wonder Words. We'll see you later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.